Live streaming is on.
Cool. Live streaming's on. However, I'm gonna wait like a minute so I can grab the link when it pops up. On the Give Us Transparency, we have a minute of buffer so that sometimes the live stream like kind of cuts back, but if you have a nice long buffer, then it can like make the recording.
Okay.
So it'll take about a minute before the link comes up and I'm doing all that. Oh, hey. Who's this little one?
My daughter. she visits me in the lab here often. So
oh, nice.
Her first online conference, right?
Won't be your last.
No. So it's working now.
We'll see.
Интересно? Почакай за malo. Добре.
What's your name?
Как ти име? Сви спраша. Ве, как ти име? Ella.
Ella.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you, Ella.
Hello.
Thanks for coming to my talk.
She's learning English from some videos also.
Oh, really?
She doesn't yet understand that.
I bet she knows Baby Shark.
Wash. I wash.
Wash.
Little shark. We are downloading interesting material from YouTube, and we have to upload to Swarm without ads, and then create some. Yeah, to city. Anyway, okay, later.
Yeah. Well, I'm not seeing the live stream come up yet. Maybe I wonder how long we.
Ours never appeared.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so here's the link. I'll post it here. I need to change the name and stuff before we actually get started. I just can't do all these things at once and be entertaining. So maybe if you guys want to talk about things, it's being live streamed.
All right, this is the first live stream that works.
Ooh, maybe Kai. Let's see. What should I... Do you guys want to be entertaining for a second?
I can do that. She did that.
Yeah, she can. She's probably the most entertaining, really.
So pretty much everything got broken before we even started. None of the live streams work.
Oh no!
Check. We also have some entertainment. Look, do you see? Делати сто?
Yeah.
Change the name of what?
Well, right now this is called Overview of Liquid Pudgy. I don't think that's really what we want it to be called. Once we have this going, then I'll spam the link out there.
But we can also change the name later, right?
Yeah, But like, if you send the link on Twitter right now, people are like, I don't care about liquid pledging. I want to go to the Intercon.
Yeah.
Kai is on it.
It seems to be working.
Yeah, we're in. So okay, so let's see if once we get this title changed, then I hope to spam the link and maybe gather some people. I was planning on doing a Q&A for the most part, so without people, it's not very fun.
Yeah.
Have you guys? Oh, nice. Well, we can leave it as that for now, I guess. And if we have this going, then let's see.
Bella.
I am tweeting. What's the hashtag for this? Just Intercon?
Yeah.
Navi tuota. Diuko.
Kerro näin.
Sabe tuota.
Okay. So help me retweet. Okay.
One. Real-time magic.
Okay. Is anybody actually watching this? If so, like, say something in the chat, and I'll get started when we get some people chatting on the YouTube video. I mean,
YouTube.
right now I only see one person watching.
But who's on the main screen in the live video? I see myself. Shouldn't you be? How does this work?
Usually, it just whenever someone talks,
Okay.
then they come up on the screen.
No, okay, because I switched and it wasn't changing. I thought it was fixed for some reason. It's good. Now it's you.
Okay.
And it's delayed also, right?
Yeah, there's about a minute delay.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got David 2112 in the house. What's up, David? And we got Andre. Yeah, you can talk here, Andre. Somehow you snuck in. And
Hello, just testing how it's going.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Good.
The Intercon is still happening.
Good.
Despite
Where are you located, guys? Where are you located right now?
In the universe.
Yeah,
It's
I'm in Barcelona.
Barcelona. Okay.
Yoga again. Yoga.
Yeah.
So cute.
Cavity. I'm from Slovenia.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'm from Croatia.
I'm from Moscow, from Russia.
Oh, so David, you're David 2112 is you, of course.
Yeah, I was quiet, so it seems it's more people, but yeah.
Man, there's so many people.
They will
Yeah.
come. They always come.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes time. And when at
Even
the end we can cut this, you know.
and also I think when it's a speaker plus somebody, so it's not just the speaker, it's already enough. It's
Yeah.
an event, so even with 5 people, it's quite good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just you know gonna give it a second. Give it like you know. I mean,
The next session was a typo, so you're open for. You're not gonna cut into anyone's time.
oh great. Yeah, I would rather start in like you know 3 to 10 minutes and let people congregate for a second and then be entertaining. But we have 4 watchers now. That's good. And if you guys are joining on YouTube, definitely type something in the chat so I know you're there. Once a couple people, yeah, hey, it must be Angela, Token Engineering. Glad you can make it. Who else we got? Oh, Raul. Welcome to the party, Raul.
Hey.
Have you guys heard of the Common Stack at all? Do you follow? Have you, David? Have you heard of the Common Stack? No. Oh, that's good. That's cool. What about you, Raul? Have you heard of this project?
Yeah, I've been reading on it and token bonding course and all that stuff. Very interesting.
Oh yeah,
Still
man.
complicated concepts, but wish to learn more.
Well, I can intro. You know, I really think that token bonding curves, especially today after watching this whole market tank, have a real application. Because one of the reasons markets can tank like this is because everyone gets scared and stops wanting to buy. And so if you have a two-sided market and you have buyers and sellers and everyone wants to sell, no one wants to buy, you can imagine, well, the price is just going to crash, right? Because there are no buyers. And people are just pulling their orders off the books. And so even just a small buy or a small sell could tank the price. And this is a huge issue. This is not how we want markets to work, right? We want markets to give some kind of accurate pricing. And when there's this mob mentality, you can have these huge swings. But with the token bonding curve, you can actually design how the market reacts to these things in advance. So you can't design what the future price will be, but you can design how the price will react to supply and demand. So and really just demand. So if there's a lack of demand and people start selling tokens, then the price will move according to the same way when people sell tokens, right? Like, let me go back. Like, let's say that yesterday, if someone wanted to sell $100,000 worth of Ether, they could have dropped the price $40 because just there wasn't enough liquidity on the books. But if somebody wanted, if the price and the price was, let's say, $150, right? And they could drop it to 110 because there's a lack of liquidity on the book, right? By selling 100K, they can move the price $40. But when Ether was going up and it was at $150 on the way up, a couple months ago, and someone wanted to sell 100K, the price maybe would move $1. And with a bonding curve, if this was actually a bonding curve, when the price is $150, anytime someone sells 100K worth of Ether, it would react the exact same way. It wouldn't matter if there's market depth, market liquidity or not.
But it would take them more time, right, to sell, probably.
No, on a bonding curve, there's instant liquidity for everybody.
Yeah.
So the way a bonding curve works is that you have this smart contract with collateral, and if someone wants to buy tokens, see, she loves bonding curves. Ella loves bonding curves. They're the future of her economies. So when someone wants to buy tokens, they send money to the smart contract, and tokens are created for them. That money is held in the collateral as collateral. And when someone wants to sell tokens, they send tokens to the smart contracts. The tokens are burned and collateral is released. So,
and this only works on decentralized exchanges, right? Not in Kraken. And
if the token is transferable, then you can put it on a centralized exchange.
Yeah, later, but I mean, the engine on Kraken, it wouldn't work in, it doesn't work through this way. So
No.
if people,
So what would happen is there would be arbitrage, right? So if you had these tokens, if you had a token bonding curve token, and you have that token trading on a centralized exchange, then
this would prevent jumps like yesterday on Kraken, because I checked, it was 30 up and 30 down. It was crazy, like you just described, and that's the reason, right?
Because there's collateral in this curve that's always there to buy. It's always there, right? If the token exists, then there is money in this collateral, in what we call a reserve. We call it the reserve, right? And in this way, you can have a little bit of a dampening effect on these huge market swings. The mob mentality, it's like the algorithm that created this token doesn't care what the mob says on Black Thursday, right? The tokens are there.
So, like Wall Street has these circuit breakers. This is better, right? It's less intrusive. It's premeditated, like
sorry, Ella.
No, because it's drastic. On Wall Street, when the price drops, everything stops, right? And with this bonding curve, it's taken care in advance, right?
Exactly. In the bonding curve, there is some forethought put into how we want the market to react to a demand for the token or a lack of demand for the token. I don't know what you call it when people want to get rid of the token. That there would be some forethought put in to designing how the market will react.
Yeah, so it's forethought is the right word.
Yeah.
But if a lot of people decide to dump it, like then it burns through the treasury that is meant to be buying it. Right?
Exactly. But there's buyers there, right? And it's predictable. So if you have, like right now, my favorite example is the richest man in the world, right? Jeff Bezos. He has 16% of the token supply of Amazon shares. Say Amazon shares are a token. It's 16% of it, right? This makes him the richest man in the world. But that's bullshit. It's straight up bullshit. They say he has $130 billion or something like that. Who knows anymore? I haven't been following Amazon stock in the last couple of days. But he doesn't. If he sold all of his stock right now, it would tank the market and he wouldn't get $130 billion for it. In fact, we don't know how much he would get for it. He might bring the whole price of Amazon stock to zero, right? Because there might not be liquidity to buy all of his stock. But with a bonding curve, there is always liquidity. If Jeff Bezos sold all of his stock, yes, he wouldn't get $130 billion. He would, but we know exactly what he would get because it's deterministic, and there would still be money in the curve, in the reserve that is backing the token, because every token is collateralized by this curve.
But so it has to be collateralized with other assets.
Yeah, usually a token bonding curve I would expect it to use DAI or some kind of stable token.
Yeah. Well, we will see about that.
DAI is going to work out, man.
I hope.
Actually audited MakerDAO a long time ago, the original Psi. I was part of the I'm still part of the White Hat group, obviously. And we audited MakerDAO, and what they're going to do is, like, the keepers, they didn't end up actually didn't end up buying the ether with DAI like they're supposed to. But the fallback plan is that MakerDAO needs to create MKR tokens and burn them, like sell them in the market to recollateralize it. So they'll do that, like this. This is the risk of being an MKR token holder. Like, there's all these levels of people who get fucked before DAI token holders. It's like the MKR token holders get screwed first, and if they get screwed too bad, then the vaults token, the people who put CDPs in, get screwed, right? And then all those people have to get screwed before the people holding DAI get screwed.
Okay. So
I think it'll work out. It's too bad. It's really weird that they had two fails. The Oracle kind of went wrong, and then the keepers stopped. There wasn't a robust keeper market. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to derail it much. Just continue with the token bonding. Sorry.
Okay. So, does anyone have any questions about token bonding curves?
Like, how big of a reserve do you need to keep it afloat?
Well, what's cool is when you start with no reserve, right? So when you deploy a token, you deploy the smart contract, and you have the price for the first token, second token, third token. You can kind of imagine a bonding curve is a simple way of thinking of it is like every token has a price, right? And it's not like every token is an NFT. It's just really like if there's 100 tokens out there, creating the 101st token has a price, and that price is known in advance. Creating the 1,000,000th token has a price, and that price is known in advance. Destroying the 50th token has a price, and that price is known in advance. So when you deploy it, you don't need any collateral. But then when people want to buy tokens, then they have to put collateral in to buy it. So the challenge there is that you get this like race to entry, which is like the first tokens are really cheap, usually. I mean, in the end, like I like to say bonding curves are like a Bob Ross painting. Like you can make it however you want. You don't have to make the first tokens cheap. You could defy the laws of supply and demand and have valleys and whatever curves you want. But generally, when people create bonding curves, they want to make the first tokens cheap and the later tokens more expensive. So this creates a situation where the first people get a huge advantage, and you don't want that. Or you do want that, but you don't want it to be a race. Like there was this organization called Protea, and they created bonding curves for communities, and we used it at Giveth to run a meetup, right? So anytime you buy the Giveth Protea token, you put $10 into the collateral of the curve, and then you put $5 or DAI into a pot that we would use to fund the meetup. Well, you guys know Kai, right? Sheila Royale. He was the first one to buy, early adopter. And so like he made a lot of money on everyone who was buying in later. And it really wasn't fair. He was just like the first person to click the button. We call it a hatch, right? Let's hatch this bonding curve. All the people that are going to be part of this organization, right? Let's put our funds together and bulk buy at the beginning. And then what's interesting is when you bulk buy at the beginning, let's say you put in $1 million at the beginning of this, the average price of the token might be 10 cents, but the final price of the token is 25 cents. And so the crazy thing with bonding curves is it really explicitly shows what I call the market cap illusion, right? The idea that the market cap, you know, if you are saying, oh, I have this many tokens and the current price is this, I must have this much money. I'm Jeff Bezos, I'm the richest man in the world. I have $130 billion. Well, that's an illusion, right? And that illusion is extremely clear in a bonding curve because you can see, like I actually have a nice slide. Let me see if I can pull it out really quick. That shows this. I wasn't planning on actually presenting any slides, but sometimes with numbers, it just makes more sense. So like you have these hatchers, they put in $1 million, right? And what we do in the common stack is we split the money between the reserve, which is the actual economy, and the token that is, you know, generally a governance token and all these things. And then the funding pool, which is the pool of funds that's used to do work, right? To produce value. But when you put in the 600K into the reserve, $2.5 million worth of tokens are created. But this is just an artifact of the actual bonding curve, right? Because they bought all of these tokens from 0 to 600K, right? And so the price of each token went up. So now it looks like they got $2.5 million worth of tokens. If they go to Etherscan, they can see, oh, I have $2.5 million worth of tokens, but it's only backed by 600K worth of collateral. I'm like using my fingers on the screen, but you guys can't see that. This is clear. What's cool here is this is incentive. The hatchers know that their $2.5 million isn't actually worth $2.5 million. It's only worth 600K. So like there's this kind of mental gymnastics that goes on in their heads with like, oh, I put in $1 million. Etherscan says I just made 2.5x. That's really cool. But I can see that there's only 600K here. So now I need to spend this money really well to make sure that people want to participate in my economy, right? And that we're doing good things. Okay, so this got really common stacky before I wanted to get common stacky. Maybe I'll just introduce the common stack. I think we have enough.
That was very clear. Like from these two slides, I think the main idea, because I was hearing a lot about bonding curves, but didn't know exactly, like in the last week or two only.
Yeah.
So
dude, bonding curves are fucking amazing. Like they are a new price discovery mechanism. We haven't had a new price discovery mechanism for like, I don't know, 500 years, right? Since a market was created, right? Like a two-sided market. This is the only This is the only price mechanism we have, and now we have a new one.
But also a lot of people in metacartel communities are using this for the shirts, and also the shoes was the same thing, right? Uniswap or similar.
That's not a It's not a bonding curve. It is. It's part of the class of automated market makers, right? So they are using curves, but you wouldn't call it a bonding curve because there's not really.
There is differences. I can sense some.
Yeah, it's a little. It's different, but it's the same. It'd be like, oh, you know, like a fox isn't a dog, but damn, they're close.
Yeah. So your example or your definition of bonding curve is really much closer to the example you were giving and emphasizing all the time with Jeff Bezos, because it's real and not real at the same time, right? That he's worth like the stock, the 16% of the stock value. It's actually the same. It's the bonding curve because everybody believes it's true, and it is true. But if everything collapses, it's not actually true anymore. The same thing.
I mean, it would be really interesting to just look at the volume of tokens that were sold yesterday and how much the market cap dropped. The market cap probably dropped in crypto at least 10x.
Yeah, 10 times more than the value. So, okay. So,
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So this is the lack of bonding curve, right? It shows you the lack of.
Exactly. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat before I kind of lost that window. Okay, so I'm going to start presenting the common stack now. It's only a 5-minute presentation, and I'm not going to use any slides. We're just going to talk our way through it. I kind of want to start with this idea of like, what is the power of Ethereum? What is the power of cryptocurrency? Really, you know, is it just a number go up game? Oh look, number go up, yay! You know, for me it's more than that, and I think for especially in people in the meta cartel space, it's a lot more than that. It's about creating economies, and creating economies. I don't think we really think about what an economy does, or is the economy as a tool, right? Why do we like economies? What do economies do? And I think that there's really three main purposes of an economy, or three things that I like economies to do, right? Number one, fairly distribute scarce resources. Number two, reward value creation. And part of number two, I'm separating it out to be number three, is to incentivize behavior that improves our lives, right? Like we want to incentivize good behavior. People who are creating value, we want to incentivize them. So if we look at how economies work today, the market-based economy, it's incredible at satisfying individual wants and needs. Dude, if you want a MacBook computer, if you want to fly to Spain, like you can get what you want. But markets really suck. The market economy really sucks at actually satisfying community wants and needs, right? Oh, do we want to get homeless people off the street? Too bad. They're going to be there, you know? Oh, do we want to have a functioning like infrastructure, water supply, you know, da da da? You better beg your government to figure it out because the market can't provide it. There's this gaping hole in our market economy, which is that it just doesn't work for communities. This is the tragedy of the commons issue, right? And this is not an issue in all economies, in all economic systems. If you go to Burning Man, right, and live in a gift economy, no, screw that. If you go home to your family and you live in a gift economy, right, public goods are no problem. Shared resources function really well in a family economy, right, in a gift economy. In communism, public goods are easy to get funding for. You know, if you're like, they're very simple. Certain economic systems are good at satisfying different needs of communities, right? And we live in a market-based economy, which has provided us endless value as individuals, But we also have to recognize that economic monocropping is not healthy. Like, no matter what economic model we choose to live with, it's never going to be complete. So we can live in multiple economies. This is the coolest thing that crypto makes so blatant, right? We can create economies and we can layer them on top of each other. And the Common Stack's goal is to create micro economies that reward people for contributing to community resources, right? Basically, our thesis is that nonprofits produce value. Organizations that are satisfying community needs are creating value. Value that may not be easily quantified, but value nonetheless. And if there is a group of people creating value, then we should be able to create an economy around it that incentivizes behavior to continue creating that value. Currently in the nonprofit space, the incentive alignment is so horrible. It's just, it's basically a non-starter. Donors donate and then and lose money by giving money, right? And then when that money trickles down, basically everyone who touches it is also sacrificing. CEOs can't make a real wage in a nonprofit. Volunteers are working for free. You know, everyone is creating value, but everyone who is actually creating value has to sacrifice to do it on the economic plane. And that's not really fair, honestly. It's not that it's not sustainable. I mean, we live in a world with lots of community resources and public goods. We've found solutions for it using governments and nonprofits. But the Common Stack believes that we can actually create another option, which is, instead of trying to create a business model in an economy that doesn't work for the value you're producing, create an economic model that appreciates the value you're producing. And that's our general thesis. This is the experimentation that we're doing. We're very focused on modeling these economies, making sure that they will be sustainable, using tools like bonding curves that will allow us to have micro economies. And the Common Stack, honestly, is going to try to go pretty slow and make sure we do these things right and support entrepreneurs and people like Metacartel who want to blaze trails. We're going to support the hell out of you, but we want to be kind of the rock that just makes sure that none of this fails, right? That we learn from our mistakes and that we can incorporate those into better and better systems that will work better and better for creating these solutions. So yeah, that's the Common Stack in, I don't know, maybe it was 7-8 minutes. Do you guys have any questions about it?
In which stage are you at the moment? Like, I think you still need some of the components built, or are you ready to integrate organizations or projects, or?
Oh, we're definitely early on. So part of the thing with the Common Stack is that it's not a tech project. It's honestly more of a cultural project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's both, right? But I think that there's way too much focus in crypto on the tech and not nearly enough on the cultural build. So we're trying to gather as many altruistically minded people as we can and have them put skin in the game on this project. That's where we are. So we call this the trusted seed. So our current process is to grab a pool of people that can be trusted to not kind of pump and dump these altruistically minded for-profit communities, right? We need to kind of create a large pool of people that are ideally interested in token engineering and decentralized governance and can be trusted to care about the value of the network that they participate in, not just making profits. So this is kind of the challenge in cryptocurrencies in general, right? I think it's the difference between a valuable network and a shitcoin, right? A shitcoin is being created to make money, and they might have some kind of story that they put around it, but the people who start it, they're just trying to make a profit. A real valuable network has people who are trying to create a sustainable economy for creating value and solving a problem. Now, they can make money. It's okay. It's okay to make money. It should be okay. We should accept this. People need to eat, right? People take risk, and they should be able to be rewarded for that risk. But that doesn't mean that it should be the #1 goal, that your goal in participating in this crypto network is to make a bunch of money. If that's the case, I don't want you working with the common stack. I don't want, we can't allow you to give us money and participate, because we need to have like a trusted seed, because the people who start these organizations end up with a lot of tokens and a lot of power. Of course, they're vested. The tokens will be vested, so they can't just like pump and dump right away. But still, we want them to care. And after the seed system has been hatched, that's when the speculators can come in and da-da-da. But as far as what stage are we in right now, we're just trying to gather as a really large community base. And we'll be working at that for several months, I'm sure.
I think you have more overlap with the social impact or impact investing or like social enterprise projects than with crypto right now. Like that's, but that's not, I mean, I'm hearing these stories. For example, there is a project that has, it's a NGO that has a network of people building processes like 3D printing and sending them to Africa. And then they are trying to jump to social enterprise. So
wait.
it's a community that makes things.
Are you part of Metacartel?
Not.
Are you part of Moloch?
Sorry?
Have you been part of Moloch?
Nope.
So is anyone in this call part of Metacartel or part of Moloch?
From distance.
From a distance.
Observing and participating in chat. But yeah.
These two projects are perfect examples of what we're trying to do, right? The thing is with Metacartel and Moloch, people are literally, they put money in and they know they're going to lose money, right? Like all of these people are already, they put skin in the game and say, we care about the value these DAOs can create more than making money. Now, what I'm saying is if we added a bonding curve in front of Moloch or Metacartel, those same people that participated would now actually have more incentive to participate, because they can actually make money by creating value with their DAOs.
Yeah, this is maybe really the thing that's missing, because they probably want to make some money in the future. Now it's maybe for a few years, it's great to not care about this, but the time comes later for everybody that, and this is the part of the mechanism which is fair, probably, and useful.
I mean, why should these people have to overcome their own economic self-interest?
Exactly.
To create the value that they believe they need, right? Why? They shouldn't have to. They are creating value. So let's create an economy that appreciates that value. And considering that we have these DAOs, these Yang DAO, basically every Moloch DAO that's ever existed is a charity DAO. You know, you wouldn't say charity per se, because it's like open source development, like da-da-da, but it's a non-profit that's making money.
What about the negative side? If you include the bonding curve, I think it's a little bit more pressure, right, to maintain the value and perceived value, and so that illusion, as you said, for example, Jeff Bezos example, is maintained. So it's a bit risky. Maybe it's good for a bit later, right? When the community even more established, and then they feel like they can jump into this and take the little bit more risk of fluctuation. And,
100%. I really think that you should really be focused on building these communities and getting a tight-knit group of people who care about the creating value in a certain way, and then and have put money down that they're happy to lose. You know, this is like a donation. In fact, it is a donation. You know, but it's a donation that you receive a token in return, and that token, you might make a profit. You'll probably lose money though, right? But you'll lose less money than you would have if you donated. And that's where things get interesting, because if we design these economies right, they are now competing against the billions and billions of dollars that are being sent to nonprofits right now. It's really easy to think, oh, how can this work? You know, people don't. How will it ever make money? It's not creating an income stream. You know, it's not creating a revenue stream. But if you go and talk to nonprofits, when they are doing their budgets, they have revenue streams. Even though they don't have business models that make sense, they receive donations. And they can actually count on regular donations, and they spend money on fundraising, and they receive people who believe that the people that want to see a change in the world will just give them money. Now, if you create a commons, that's what we call the common stack DAOs, basically. If you create a commons that does exactly what a nonprofit does, right? You can actually compete, and you can say, okay, so you could give money to this nonprofit, or you could give money to this commons, receive tokens in return, use those tokens to actually send money to that same nonprofit, and now you have skin in the game. Now you have an asset of value in return for donating, which is infinitely better than just donating and losing money. So now you have this competing system, and the real dream is to have these commons be providing be providing a coordination technique, a coordination mechanism for all the people that care about that nonprofit cause. Because now, instead of a bunch of donors donating as individuals, these donors can coordinate their economy and use economics of scale of their bulk assets to make real large impacts on and choices on how to move forward as a collective, as opposed to, oh, a lot of people care about ending the coronavirus scare. Well, a lot of people are spending money here and there, and they're not coordinating. Well, here's this coronavirus DAO that if you donate to, you get tokens in return. Those tokens have value, and they're used to coordinate everyone. Now we have this tool that everyone who cares about coronavirus is incentivized to use, and they're incentivized to coordinate with each other on how to use the funds that they collect. Sorry, I'm ranting. Any other questions on Common Stack? Cool.
So sorry, the communities you're looking for are for projects that are working in crypto at the moment, you mean? Even if they are building a public common good?
Yeah. So
okay.
we'd be happy to help anybody launch these things for whatever cause they want. We are going to start with the token engineering commons. That's going to be the first one, because this is very much a token engineering project. And so if we feel like the people in the token engineering space number one, can understand what the hell we're talking about. And they're not afraid to interact with MetaMask and store their own keys. And also they need it. They need it, man. Research, token engineering research in this space is generally fairly siloed, right? There's no benefit in doing open research for everyone. Yeah, sure, you open source the code, but only because you have to stay legitimate in this industry. So if we can create, it's a very low risk, like high reward commons to start with, and I think it'll also help the common stack improve fastest. And then actually the people who donate to support us, then they receive CStack tokens and they can pick the next commons that we support. Also, the people who donate to support us, they're the ones who are able to hatch the token engineering commons. They're the ones that are able to put in funds at the beginning, like, put in that $1 million and then get $2.5 million worth of tokens. It's a closed group, and only those people will be able to do that. And then any group that we do support, we would ask that they allow the CStack token holders to be part of their hatch. And that's generally how we are going to fund ourselves, is by curating a group of people who have supported us, and then we're going to make sure that they are the people who get to participate in these commons at an early stage. In a way, we're almost creating a new type of organization, and the CStack holders get to be the people who are on the seed round for all of these new organizations.
Okay.
And how to get in the first round? When is this like to participate?
Well, I mean, we are accepting donations right now, but honestly, I'll just be honest, this is generally more of an altruistically minded project. And so we're kind of just going to hold out until the market seems like it will actually succeed in raising funds.
Asking for a friend,
Yeah, asking for a friend. I mean, we do accept donations now, and any donation now will get more CStack tokens than a donation in the future. But we're going to do like a full scale fundraise eventually. But we want to start it when the market is right and when it will succeed, because our market is crypto. And I mean, Jesus, God, how many billions of dollars were lost in crypto last week? So
it's an illusion. It wasn't lost.
What? Yeah. It wasn't real money in the first place.
No, it wasn't really lost. Nobody's who believes sold, I think.
Yeah. I mean, 1 ether is 1 ether, right?
But we still have to eat. Do you know people that panic sold, or from the real community, what they think about the current situation?
Do say that again?
What do you observe around you from the early people in crypto? Did they also get scared for their own funding and panic sold, or they are holding? Were they prepared for this?
I don't really know. I wish I knew. Everyone's kind of panicking in their own way. I think it's more about coronavirus and like people just wanting cash more than wanting to like worried about crypto per se. They just are like, oh man, I need toilet paper, and I can't buy toilet paper with crypto. So
yeah. So this should subside in a month or so, or go wilder if really it's not contained for some time, maybe 2 months or 2 years of funny times.
No, I don't think. I personally am more optimistic. I guess I think that the crypto market will turn around. The stock market probably won't, but
see, here's crazy times also already happening. Here we lost electricity, and now I'm on electric backup. Really?
Right.
And the water works for 20 more minutes or something.
No, we do the same at the Giveth house, uninterrupted power supply. It's really nice. The internet will last for a little bit longer.
Here, all the schools are closing on Monday, so government had to scare all the people because it's self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, if not, then it's spreading like crazy. But if everybody just stays home, then in 2 weeks can be much better. Or 1 month with everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to go eat. Thank you for great conversation.
Hey, David.
Take care. Bye.
Is there another talk going on?
I'm not sure. I'll check.
Yeah, I think that I'm giving a talk on agent and like using Aragon agent to decentralize protocols.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to take it away, Aaron?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a little bit, but yeah, sure. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. I'm not sure about this software. I've never really used this before, but hey, can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Can anyone hear me even? Yeah?
Yeah, we hear you, and the screen looks great.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So
I'm getting some feedback from Leo here. Leo, could you maybe mute yourself?
Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I did. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
So yeah, I'm going to talk today about Aragon and agent and how you can decentralize your protocols or your smart contracts with agent and using an Aragon DAO on the back end, basically. So yeah, there's some slides here that I didn't actually make, but I'm gonna actually go through this anyway. So we all know that we live in a new era at the moment with blockchains and this technology that we have. Like, and just for a bit of context, we came from the 90s where we were first introduced to blogs, so we can share ideas across boundaries, and like a new layer of that happened with social media where we could discuss these ideas like in a one-to-many relationship, where blogs was like a more of a one-to-one relationship. And now we have DAOs and crypto economics and all these other types of primitives where we could on top of all of these things where we could share and discuss things, we can now communicate value, and we have like a trust layer that we can lay on top of these networks, and we can do some really cool things with them. Like, of course, we have a lot of these applications that we've been building with Ethereum and other these smart contract platforms. They've a lot of them, they have admin keys in them, and you have a small set of people that built the protocols and they still control them. And why these things have their place, it's still this is not the future that a lot of us really signed up for. Like having, it's still you still have a problem of, even though these projects they run on decentralized protocols like Ethereum, but they're still really centralized. And yeah, it doesn't have to be like that anymore. So basically we can set up protocols free with Aragon and agent. So what is Aragon? Aragon is basically a set of smart contracts that are modular, that allow you to govern anything really that's on chain. We have a bunch of tools and applications that allow you to do these things. One of them that we're going to talk about today is agent. And what agent allows you to do is it allows you to connect your DAO to any other smart contract on Ethereum, basically. It allows your DAO to act as if it has an externally owned account. And yeah, so Melonport's actually using it at the moment to govern their protocol. So all of the parameters of the Melonport protocol are governed with their DAO, which is connected to Aragon through an agent. And yeah, so like that was just a quick overview of Aragon and what we can, and agent. And what I plan to do today is we're gonna take this from being a bit abstract and make it concrete. So we're gonna deploy a smart contract on Ethereum with a single owner. We're gonna deploy a DAO, and then we're going to transfer the ownership of that smart contract to the DAO, and then we're going to use agent to change the parameters of the protocol. Does that make sense? Is everyone following that at the moment? Yeah,
sounds awesome.
Cool, great. All right, so okay, so I've just made a very simple smart contract that is actually a DeFi protocol. There's no code in here. We're just going to concentrate on the admin functions that this protocol has. So like in the constructor, I'm not sure what the technical experience of you guys are. I'm not a programmer myself, but I can just do some basic stuff. So hopefully you can follow along with what's happening here. So the constructor, it sets the person who deploys this is going to be set as the owner. Our protocol has a fee, so you know people that trade on this protocol has a fee, and there's an address where these fees get collected to, and it's a proxy. So what that means is that the actual implementation of this code is not in the contract itself. So if at a later point we wanted to upgrade the code, we can just point to the new thing. But all of these things require obviously someone to change these functions. So yeah, and right now it's just us as the person who will deploy it. So these are the functions that we're going to be working with. One transfers the ownership. This just changes the fee. This sets the revenue. This updates the code. Hopefully, if you're not a programmer, you'll be able to understand in the next bit once we've deployed it. Okay, so I'm going to deploy this to Rinkeby. So I have MetaMask installed. Yeah. Oh wait, sorry.
Fucking hell.
Let's change my account. Okay, and in a second, once that gets mined, we'll have a contract on Rinkeby. And there it is. At the moment, so what you're looking at here is basically the contract on Rinkeby as it is. This is the code address that we set in here. The fee is 1 as it's set in the constructor, and the owner it should be set to our account here, which is 61D, which if I check in my MetaMask now, I'm sure that is the account there. Oh, we're having technical problems. There we go, 61D. Awesome. But yeah, so right now we have a centralized protocol, because even though it's on the Ethereum network, which is decentralized, like we totally control this. So if this was a DeFi protocol, like operating on the mainnet at the moment, and people was trading with this and stuff, like we could, you know, just change this at any time arbitrarily without anyone's say so. So that's like the current situation of this at the moment. Is everyone following what's happening here? Or is anyone kind of lost? Is any questions at this point so far? Yeah. Okay, Arion. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create an Aragon DAO, and this Aragon DAO, we're going to transfer ownership of this of the protocol to the DAO, and the DAO can then change the settings of our smart contract. Okay, so when you first go to Aragon, like the client page, you present with all these templates. You can have like pre-configured templates for how you want your organization to run. So like there's a whole bunch of them here. This is a new one, this Dandelion template. This is basically a Moloch DAO on Aragon, which is really cool. A company template is just the basics, token weighted voting. We have a fundraising template that gives you like a bonding curve as well inside it. Very similar to the stuff that Common Stacks is doing over there. Yeah, it's got a market maker and all that kind of stuff in it. But today we're going to use a membership template, because we just have a few people govern our smart contract basically. And you know, over time you can upgrade this with new applications as and when you wish. And it's super important that we're going to tick this option here to include agent. Okay, so here when you first go to launch an Aragon DAO, you are given the option to give it a name. You have to be careful with this as well, because you can't actually change this. So if you choose wrong, you're going to have to create a new DAO, and you can't transfer ENS names over at all. So we're going to call this Interspace DAO. Okay. Yeah, so there's some voting settings that you can configure. So supports basically means that how much, what the percentage of the total token holders have to vote to support to make proposals pass, and the minimum approval is the amount of token holders in total that have to support that. I'm not sure if I explained that too well, but I'll say it again, that the support is the total number of token holders that actually vote on the thing. This supports has to be, if it's 50%, then 50% of them have to support it, and the minimum approvals is like for all the token holders. So out of every single token holder that there is in the organization, a minimum of this amount has to support it for it to be considered valid. Does that make sense? So do you understand that?
Sounds good.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so we have a token name. We're going to call our token interspace tokens. I'm going to add my address as one of the token holders. Does anyone else want to get a token in this DAO and help me govern this contract? If you do, can you just drop your Rinkaby MetaMask address into the chat? If you can do that. So I'll share my screen 2 seconds. Awesome. 1 sec. No one? Yeah, okay, cool.
Sorry, what do you say? You want the address?
Yeah, cool, awesome. If you want to like be involved in governing this DAO, then like just drop an address.
Yeah, just
at the moment.
Just
there you go.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Awesome.
Just 1 minute, please. Here we go. There's chat here.
Okay. I've got one address here. I'm not sure whose this is, but you're gonna have to stick around, otherwise you're gonna break the down. Awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna choose 2 of these addresses because the more votes we need. There we go. Okay, so each of us are going to have 1 token each. So these tokens, because we've chosen a membership template, this is like a 1 person, 1 vote DAO. So the 3 of us here, I'm not sure who those people are, but hopefully you guys stay on the call. Okay, so we're going to launch our organization. We're going to have a quick look at the settings that we've chosen. We call this Interspace DAO. These are the settings of our voting application, and these are the token holders. This one here is me, and I'm not sure who you 2 guys are at the moment, but yeah, we're going to find out in a minute. All right. So this is obviously going to take a transaction or 2. So in the meantime, whilst we're waiting for these transactions to go through, are there any questions? Okay. The weights between blocks. Here we go. Awesome. So for those who haven't actually seen an Aragon DAO before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly run through the different parts that we have here. So this is like the homepage of your DAO. Tokens obviously are the tokens that are in the DAOs. You can see that these tokens here are non-transferable. There's a total supply of 3. There's 3 token holders, and these are the weights. Once votes start appearing in our organization, they will appear here. And we're not going to make use of finances today, but if you wanted to have a look at the finances here, and agent, well, the interactions with agent, they happen here, basically. So right now, if we go back to Remix, we have this contract here. That's obviously is controlled by us, and we want to transfer ownership to the DAO, and we want like these 3 token holders to be able to make the decisions instead of just having me as the 1 token holder making the decisions. And of course, over time, you can add more token holders to this, or you could change the governance such that, you know, you can have 2 sets of decision makers or whatever other types of governance systems that you wanted to do. You could do that all with Aragon, but right now we're just going to have it so just us 3 can vote on upgrading the protocol. So how are we going to do that? So what we have to do is right now we have our address, which is the owner, but we need to get the address for agent, and agent is going to be the one who's in control of the organization. And to do that, we're going to go into here to the organization tabs down here, and you can see the addresses for all of the different applications in your DAO. We're going to pick agent, copy this over, and back in Remix, we're going to transfer ownership to this new address here. Okay, so once that mines, we should see we have a new owner for this contract. Okay, so if we click this again, oops. One second, maybe if I refresh, let me copy this over. Oh my God. Sorry guys, having a bit of technical problems over here. Gonna have to redeploy this again.
There's no problem.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Get our agent address again. Okay, and there we go. The owner has changed to this E40 account, which is our agent's account. Awesome. So now, like, how are we going to, how is this DAO itself going to call any of these functions, right? So normally what we would use, the normal workflows would have our tool called Aragon CLI, which it allows you to interact with the agent from the command line. However, you know, downloading the Aragon CLI is going to be a bit arduous for this purpose of this presentation. So luckily we have an application called Console that's built into the client itself. But if you're looking at your Aragon DAO right now, you probably won't be able to see this. So if you wanted to enable this, you go to the global preferences in the top right, go to help and feedback, and you select this display console here, and yeah, it enables this console down here. And what this does, it exposes these 2 commands that are in the Aragon CLI. And the one we're going to be concerned with is act, because act allows you to act on behalf of your agent. So the syntax is pretty simple. What you do is you put in act, the agent's proxy address, the address for the contract that you're going to be administering, and the function name. So our agent, we've only got 1 installed in our app, and you can just press this here and it gives you the agent's address up here. The target address, if we go back to our instance here, we can copy it. Takes a second sometimes. Oh, no. go. And the last part is the method name that we're going to change. So what function are we going to change right now? Well, if we look back at our contracts, we see we have a few of these admin functions that we can change. We can, we can set the protocol fee, we can update the code, we can change the address where the revenue goes to. Let's just update the protocol fee. So right now at the moment, if we check what the fee is, it's set to 1. And so you type the name of the function, you type the name of the type of the parameter that it takes, and this takes a uint256, I believe. Let me just double check. Yep, uint256. Colon, and we're gonna set it to 2. You have to, one thing that if you're doing this as well, you have to be really sure that you type in this all correctly, because otherwise you'll get a transaction that when you try to vote on it, it won't let you do it. So set protocol fee, set protocol fee, and we're gonna change that to 2. Okay, so like right now, obviously I can't do this arbitrarily on my own, because this is a DAO and there are 3 of us that have to vote on this. So it's telling me that right now I can create this transaction and it's going to send it to the voting app. Okay. And when that's mined, this will appear here. So those of you who have tokens that I added you to the address, maybe if you want to go to this URL here with your MetaMask's accounts enabled. And yeah, we're gonna. So at the moment, it's saying to execute this unknown function. It's an unknown function because this this hasn't at the moment with the current iteration of agent, that you have to either code the functions so they specifically comply with something called RADspec, or in the later version, I think that this is going to be removed, so you just be able to see the actual function, the name of the function that's here. So I'm going to vote yes on this. Yeah, so this is not going to pass unless the other 2 token holders also approve it, at least one of them. So I'm going to need one of you guys to vote on this now.
Voted.
You just voted, yeah? Awesome. So in a sec, that should this should update. Connect my account. Actually, did your vote get mined? Did your vote get mined?
Yeah. No, let me check it. 1 moment. I should go to MetaMask. Yes. I can even send this transaction detail to you.
Because it's still showing up as 1 vote. Maybe it was me that hadn't voted. Okay, so it's my transaction that didn't go through, unfortunately. Awesome, so that's passed. So if we go back to our smart contract now and we check the fee.
we've got a very good voting discipline in UniDAO. So when voting is announced, we know that everybody should vote, otherwise it doesn't pass.
Yeah, awesome. You know, that's the thing, that is like one of the major major problems with DAOs at the moment, is that you still require a lot of coordination if everything requires a vote. But sometimes for like, if you have something that's, you know, that is really mission critical software and stuff, like sometimes it requires that level of burden. But of course, if everyone has to vote on every single thing, then it limits what you can really do with DAOs. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about the court system as well, because I mean, it's probably that's a whole another talk for another time. But yeah, it allows you to be able to reduce a lot of those friction points with voting and stuff like that. But yeah, so basically what we've done is now we've deployed a smart contract. This smart contract has admin features. We've transferred the admin features over to an Aragon DAO, and we've used this DAO to upgrade the fee from 1 to 2. And of course, we can then go ahead to change the address where the fees are collected at and other things like that. And yeah, that's about it at the moment. Is there any questions on that or anything else? So maybe Leo, like maybe if you like just tell us a little bit like about how UniDAO is using Agent, because like UniDAO has I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a sec. UniDAO, like you guys are one of the biggest users of Agent thus far. So like what are you guys using? How are you doing it?
Yeah, do you hear me? Do you see me?
Yep, I can hear you. I can see you too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we actually been experimenting with Aragon DAOs a lot for past half a year, maybe even 9 months. Kind of got our hands dirty inside this amazing technology. So the Aragon DAOs are really, in my opinion, the most flexible tool for governance of protocols. There are still opportunities for improvement. There are still downsides, but anyway, the technology is pretty awesome. And like one of the greatest technologies inside the Aragon DAOs are really the agent application, because it allows you the interoperability that you need. So whenever you want to connect your application, which is deployed in the form of smart contract in the mainnet, you actually can connect to DAO, and voila, you have your governance set connected to the protocol. So what we managed to do actually, we managed to try out, to experiment with the Aragon applications a lot.
In general, access to interface.
Sorry, can someone mute? Can someone mute a microphone, please?
We should land in the
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So we actually experimented a lot with Aragon application. If DeFi service, for example, like Compound or Uniswap or maybe even MakerDAO service has a web-free connectivity, you basically can connect the DAO and perform any actions on behalf of the organization. So you can actually have the whole financial system connected to the DAO. So whenever you stake, for example, stable coins inside the DAO, you can actually send it to the DeFi service and actually earn profit from the Compound by getting your lending interest rate. And actually, whenever you vote, by how Aaron showed in his example, you actually can supply the liquidity inside Compound protocol. You can actually withdraw liquidity based on the governance that have been executed. And you can do a lot of amazing things. For example, you can make a trading activity. So you can actually, so we've been experimenting mostly with Aragon in terms of for-profit financial organizations. So it's like an investment fund. So we were actually being able to buy asset from decentralized exchanges using the Aragon. We actually managed to sell those assets. Then we understood that it's the governance and the voting process is quite slow, so you cannot kind of execute all those votes like in a minute. So we actually understood that if you want to make some kind of a trade activity, it's possible. So we modified the agent application a bit to include the autonomous functions. So you can provide some kind of whitelisting actions that agent application can run despite the governance vote that is happening. So you can make a lot of automated executions of different actions, interactions with the smart contracts, just by giving the whitelisting option to the agent.
That's really interesting. So just on that point, that's really interesting. So basically, you have so the modified version of agent that you guys have built, you can so these whitelisted functions. So for argument's sake, you can have a on a particular contract, you give it those specific functions, and it can then execute those things on its own without having a vote or anything. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, we created a function inside the agent application, which is called probe action, and whenever JavaScript bot that's kind of centralized part of the trading activity can see some action going on in the market, it can actually execute the particular function. For example, trade all Ethereum to DAI in a specific price at a specific point. So basically, to hedge the risks of Ethereum kind of falling down. So you can actually kind of program the code so that the only action that is possible with the agent application without the governance is selling your Ethereum at particular price to the stablecoin. So or vice versa, you can act by actually buying Ethereum when the price is going up, and all this is happening with the pre-programmed whitelisted functions that you can build, you can include inside the agent application. So that avoids the necessity to always put all the votes in each and every trade, but you can actually execute hundreds of those trades, maximize your profits with the governance still in the place, and when something happens, so when something breaks down or you want to make some unusual action, you initiate the voting procedure, and you can actually have some kind of not pre-programmed action that is not included in the agent. So I think that this feature is very powerful, since the governance and the voting is actually quite hard. We understood that. So you cannot execute all actions on behalf of the DAO just by using the vote, because the DAO would be slow, and it's very hard to make it scalable. So you cannot have like 100 members voting on each particular case. So whenever you have an agent with the pre-programmed whitelisted actions, you can do a lot of very powerful stuff. You can make the Aragon DAO being actually autonomous, so execute actions and actually go for kind of wholly automated process, but the governance will be still in place. So you can, in every kind of emergency, you can shut the function down and actually save the DAO from the loss.
Awesome.
Was it like clear?
Yeah, like well, I got that, but I'm not sure if everyone else did. But like for just to paraphrase, basically what you're saying is that just so I can be probably a bit more clear, is that, you know, with agent, if you're using agent specifically for trading activity, if you have to forward every single action to a vote, then, you know, it can make trades, you know, not profitable because they're time dependent. So what you've done is you've modified agent so you can call specific whitelisted functions without having to vote, basically, and, you know, you get around that whole bandwidth issue. That's essentially what you guys have done, right?
Yeah. And actually, we are looking forward, and maybe the Aragon 1 would build such a thing, or we might actually improve our modified version of agent to include batch transactions. I think that it would help a lot for the Aragon DAOs if you can actually have several specific actions integrated into one vote.
So definitely, that's
kind of
definitely being worked on, right? So at the moment, you can. It's really interesting because we have a new toolkit. It's actually called Toolkit that allows you to batch transactions together, right? So you can batch a whole bunch of mint transactions or a whole bunch of burn transactions, or you can change a whole bunch of permissions all within the same transaction, right? And yeah, so that's actually something that's available at the moment. I was actually hacking on something similar to that the other day, but yeah, the tooling is actually available. I can send you a link afterwards if I can find it here. I can try to check the GitHub out for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, though, that's awesome. That would be really great if, like, as we can create some make these things a lot easier to use. So
that was a really an insightful thing for me to discover that if you have not much governance, if you have like just one vote or two votes for your for the DAO, that will be beneficial for all the owners. So the more you automate actions that you execute with your DAO, the more transactions that you're making without hurting the organization, without hurting the token holders, but without their consent. So basically without them even knowing that it's happening, the better. So if you automate the transactions, but you have the governance that can intervene and stop some malicious activity or something, that would create a whole new world of opportunities for the DAO.
Also, as well, like, this is the, just to briefly touch on something that I mentioned earlier. So one thing that's really cool about the Aragon Court is that if you look at how traditional organizations are run, right? I mean, everyone doesn't have to vote on everything because you have, you know, like you delegate authority to people and you trust that they're not going to abuse that authority, because if they do, then they will end up in court and end up getting, you know, they'll end up lose, right? But yeah, so what's really great about Aragon Court is that I could see a situation like this where you can have agent, and you can have maybe someone that is staked to the DAO, that they can take actions on behalf of the DAO, and if those actions were then meant to be harmful, or they done some type of fraud, that they could basically be punished and slashed according to their stake and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how much you guys have looked into the court, but it seems like something that you guys are doing at UniDAO. It'll be really great for you to probably explore that also.
We are in court, Leo. We can talk about it. Leo, do you hear me? Here, Ivan.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
We are in court now, just testing.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, really? Who is the juror?
I am the juror, Leo. It's Ivan.
Yeah, I know that you. Okay. So you mean you're
I'm
the
answering
jurors?
for Aaron. I suppose you're talking about courts. The last sentence was about the court. Yeah, I'm the juror, but I have a minor stake, so it's not about testing something because I have no tasks at all for now.
Oh yeah, awesome. No, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that your staked as a juror in the Aragon court. Yeah, that's really great. That's awesome. Like, yeah, so it's great. I was referring specifically to right now it's still a bit nebulous about how a lot of this stuff's actually going to work, but you know, a lot of projects that are currently Aragon DAOs and that are, you know, that they're really active, like how they could use the courts, the Aragon court themselves, for their project. So, you know, using the court to govern some functions of or some operation of their DAO. But yeah, this is a lot of this stuff is still to be just TBD. So yeah, probably circle back on that one.
I'm just saying that UniDAO is now looking inside the court, and I suppose
awesome.
we'll have to discuss inside with Leo. How can it be integrated inside the DAO or something like that?
Awesome. Yeah, totally. Are there any more questions? Okay, like, whilst we've got a little bit more time left, Leo, maybe like if you just tell us a little bit more about like what you have planned for the future with UniDAO, maybe, if you're still there.
So at the moment we plan to create like a permissionless organization. So for now we've been experimenting like with a permissioned model where all the participants know each other, but we understand that once we solve the governance, once we have the application that could let people stake inside the DAO and actually this model where anyone can join and would participate in the profit-making transactions of the agent application, would actually could actually have a proposal. So basically on the improvement of the organization. Like the biggest step, what we were thinking to do is actually the transition from the permissioned model to the permissionless, where kind of any participant could actually join the DAO and see if the DAO can scale to like 100 members or 1,000 members or even more. Right now, for that to be viable, we think that the most important thing is usability. So to create some easiest way, or maybe different application to actually participate in the voting, to actually maybe even subsidize the fees with meta transactions or something like this, for the participants to not have no hurdles of how to vote, how to use the technology itself, create the easiest possible way to use the tool to actually create some automated technology for the DAO to earn value. We think that mostly we would be diving into DeFi space, so earning value from trading activity like arbitrage, from liquidations that's quite profitable, from some support liquidity, so market making on decentralized exchanges. So that would be the first step, that the DAO would earn value from the growing DeFi space. The second thing that we see that is the viable model is trading the NFTs. So NFT is actually a great market. We were thinking to improve and scale a DAO that could operate and would help the NFTs to be traded and actually create liquidity for non-fungible token space. And as well as working on creating a protocol for lending for NFTs. So if you have an NFT, you could actually use a DAO to get some liquidity and lend the NFT token to the DAO. So one of the ways that the Aragon can actually help to earn value for this lending activity. So so like the biggest steps for us would be using the current instances of Aragons and applications that are integrated, Dandelion and fundraising application and so on. We can actually create a transition to the permissioned from permission to permissionless organization, and scale the use cases that you can actually use the DAOs for. So like this.
That's absolutely awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to shoot now. Is there another speaker on afterwards? Do you know what's happening afterwards? Okay, well, it was really great speaking to you guys, and it was really great speaking to you again, Leo, as well, about UniDAO and all the stuff that you guys are doing. And yeah, hopefully I catch you guys in some other talks.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting. Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Awesome.
See you.
Bye.
developer as well, and he's responsible for most of that hash time locked contracts and all that technical stuffs, advanced stuffs and magic. Yeah, and we're trying to keep everything open source. So, like I told you, you can join the protocol pretty easily. We open source this liquidity provision module, which we called Butler. So everyone can run Butler and start providing liquidity as long as his machine is working 24/7. And yeah, I think that at some point, maybe people won't need our interface, which is at GLA.market currently. And it is one of the initial implementations, but everyone can use the SDK, connect to the protocol, so it could be used like a building block. It's not just a project that we're owning privately or whatever. Everyone can use it freely.
So I guess I have two questions for you then, if that's all right. So risks is one of them. What are the kind of existential risks for you guys, or just the risks involved in doing these hash time warp contracts? And the second one was, how does it compare to Komodo's Gamma wallet or
Hello, everyone. Let's just wait 2 minutes for Coder. Then he's gonna be here pretty soon.
Today we're going to be talking mostly about the ERC 721 standard. There is another one that fewer people know about called the ERC 1155, which is created by Engine. But in general, it's always unique of kind, and they really are the perfect way to create like digital ownership on the blockchain.
So maybe to kind of give a scope here, we'll just share real quick. The NFT market has been really took off. It started with CryptoKitties, right? This is a snapshot of just a few weeks ago. And we have, what you see is a lot of different types of NFT projects that are in the ecosystem now. So something like a CryptoKitty, a collectible, would be like Gods Unchained or Crypto Heroes. But at the top of the chart, you see Decentraland and Crypto Voxels. And these are more like metaverse games, which obviously anyone here that's working on the meta game is very familiar with, I'm sure. And number 5 is one that we've been like working not directly with, but we look at and we communicate with a lot, which is the community at Super Rare, where you're seeing people who were minting their own NFTs as artwork and then selling them as Super Rare NFT one-of-ones on their whitelisted marketplace. So the NFT market is definitely growing fast and in multiple directions. And I think the question is like, where does the NFT value come from? And the most obvious is scarcity, but really scarcity doesn't have value unless you have a community or an ecosystem that goes with it. So it's really you need 2 of 3 at least, 2 to tango, so to speak. And how many of you guys here are using Crypto Voxels or any of the other metaverses? Is this I feel like this is a higher.
Yeah,
we are using and we're actually investing it.
We are going virtual because of the current situation. It seems virtual conferences and talks are the way to go. And it is already a very cool setup. The guys have been working very, very hard. We've got House of DAOs, House of DeFiance, House of Adoption, talks happening all day, some already happening.
Yeah, that's great. And sorry, I missed the very beginning. Did you say you're with Decentraland, or did I mishear you? Hello?
Oh, I think we.
Yes.
I'm very curious.
Whom was this question
Missed the
for?
name.
For example,
So
we have collective ownership of land in several metaverses like Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, and Sandbox. Also consider Somnium Space.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it's
great.
also a question about policies, how you monetize your property, if you just hold it or you develop it and you like perform different events on it, you build something and so on.
It's been really interesting.
So you have to have all those. I think our point is that scarcity by itself is not really that useful. You need to have a community. As in
scarcity is okay. I think scarcity is okay, but as with real properties, it depends on where your parcel and where your NFT is located. So it's a question about the system generally. If it develops well, then your piece of land grows in price. Also, it's a question of where it is located. So if someone builds something around you which attracts a lot of attention, then the price of your parcel starts to go up. So it's actually a real expertise which is needed now to evaluate the market and to evaluate the most promising parcels for purchase for the investments.
That's true. Yeah, we're going to be talking today a little bit more a different angle, and that is instead of having to speculate on the NFT, what if, I guess we can go to the next slide here. What if the value of the NFT could actually be baked into the NFT itself? Instead of you can still speculate on it, but what if the NFT had a certain amount of value already? And that's kind of what our value proposition is going to be here, and what we want to talk about, this innovation in the NFT space.
So the next slide here is BullionX NFTs, which is what we're working on. And I think it's looking at a different way to add value to the NFTs in a more trustless fashion. So we're not just value backed, which we could argue that most NFTs are backed by the value of the community, the value of the game they plug into, the beachfront property and crypto voxels. That's not right, the location, as you mentioned. But in this case, we're talking about staking. So we use smart contracts to actually stake DGX. In this case, it's DGX stablecoins staked to our NFTs. And so this was kind of the insight we had at the beginning. I was working on Mintable, and I was in the DigX DAO, which is the mandate of the DigX DAO is to support adoption of DGX. And so the idea of staking ERC20 tokens had come up, and I thought, you know, there's a very short list of ERC20 tokens that I would see a larger, broader market for, and they would be stable coins, so either DAI or DGX. So the first one we started working on is DGX because the idea was that, well, holding a stable coin is kind of the most boring thing you can do in crypto. Everything else is volatile, or it's a crypto kitty, and it's exciting in some way. But stable coins are, by nature, very stable and very boring. So the idea was, how do I take my DGX holdings that are just a number on a balance sheet and make them fun and make them more similar to the coin collection I had growing up, you know, through high school? How do I make that fun where I don't just say I have 50 DGX, which would be 50 grams of gold, but I have, you know, a 3D beautiful coin that is limited edition and has a story behind it, something like that. And that was kind of the starting point for the idea of a value staked NFT, and in the case of BullionX. So this is what we've been building. We started with funding on DigX DAO to fund the initial smart contracts to be built. And so after that, we started looking at the user side and how can we make this a really fun gamified experience. And that's where me and Daniel, we've been working a lot on the front end and the actual user experience. So you can see we wanted to bake in digital rarity from a real world asset, and we wanted to have a fixed minimum value. So we have basically an NFT that has a very clear amount of DGX staked to it. And if you want to, you can view that NFT, you can transfer that NFT, or you can push the melt button and actually burn that NFT, in which case the NFT would be destroyed forever, but you would get those 5 DGX, those 5 grams of gold returned to you. And so I thought that was a very cool idea where we could actually replicate real world coin collecting in a fun and totally digital and totally on-chain way.
And also make it easy for adoption, because I think it's a cool way to be able to send a gold coin to someone. They might be an older person who's a gold bug, or just someone who might be a little bit wary still of crypto, but also wants to be more digital with things. So we can embed this gold, we can stake this gold into the NFT and then send it to their wallet. And they can open it on BullionX, or this website that we've created, and they can touch it. It's a 3D coin, so they can move it around. They can zoom in, zoom out, see all of the details on it, and just have a beautiful experience with this gold staked NFT.
Yeah, I think it's really designed to be almost like a conversation starter, or when you have those conversations with people who are crypto curious. It's really designed for mobile first, because we want you to be able to just pull out that phone and show them and say, look, here is a non-fungible token, a digital item that exists on the blockchain, and there's no middleman, there's no third party. It is hardwired to 5 grams of gold. And so that was the concept, and I think we've come a long way. We're very close to launching this. We'll be launching at the end of this month, and I think it's come together really well. It started with the idea of value staked NFTs, but then built around it is this idea of a really intuitive user experience where people can, like you say, touch it, zoom in, and feel pretty much at home with it from the get-go. And so these are kind of some of the issues we're trying to address, and hopefully increase adoption for blockchain and for Ethereum, but also NFTs in particular.
And about DGX, the coin, you guys may not have ever heard of it, but it's a pretty interesting coin. It's an ERC20, but it's pegged to 1 gram of gold. And you might say, well, how do we know that the gold's there? DigX is a Singapore-based company, and they've been very transparent about all their gold holdings since the beginning. They do audits quarterly to show that they have proof of gold. So I think it's it's impossible for us to be completely trustless using them, but our smart contracts are completely trustless, and everything is open source as far as the smart contracts. So it's a very well. One thing that really interests me, and one reason I'm really interested in this project is because it's not just for me. It's not just about like the user experience of the gold. It's more about what can we do with this idea later, and how can we incorporate this idea with the larger DeFi space. And I think there's a couple ways that we can do that. I know that there are some projects. One of them I follow is Rocket NFT with Alex Mazmej, and he is experimenting with these NFT like under collateralized loans. So I think recently they did a transaction on Decentraland where I forget how much it was, but someone used their land as collateral for a loan, and I think that's really cool. The one problem they have is that you have to have an accurate valuation of that land before you can
So is there nothing going on in this room right now? Just checking, making sure the stream is working.
I can hear, but nothing is happening.
Great. Okay. I'll test the live, check that this short conversation happened on the live stream and make sure everything's cool.
Okay.
changes.
Hey Makoto, so this room got changed, so we're in a new room now. Don't know what it is, but I'm gonna close the live stream and yeah.